Welcome to another edition of the Hall Call interview series and podcast. I am Will Driscoll, the Executive Director here at the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. And as always, I am happy to bring you this content platform highlighting connections to sports in Virginia. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors who help us bring you Hall Call and other Hall of Fame events: the Beck Foundation, Priority Automotive, Davcon Inc., Centera Health Plans, White Claw Hard Seltzer, Priority Auto Sports Radio 94.1. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do programs like Hall Call and everything else that we do here at the Hall of Fame. Well, next weekend, the world's largest sand soccer festival will return to Virginia. And notice I didn't say the state's largest, the country's largest, the East Coast largest. I said the world's largest sand soccer festival. That is the North American Sand Soccer Championships, and they will take place right here at the Virginia Beach Oceanfront with over 10,000 competitors competing on fields set up across 25 city blocks on the beach. The championships include amateur and professional competition, and oh, by the way, will also be celebrating their 30th anniversary. And joining us today to help prep us for year number 30 is Executive Director Lauren Bland and Director of Operations Matt Whalen. Lauren and Matt, I know it's crunch time, but thank you so much for taking some time to join us today.
Happy to do it. It's a week out before the event. Will, we're so bored. We have nothing going on. So let's just have a slow chat for a couple hours.
No,
Yeah, great timing, man. Great timing.
We're not counting down days, minutes, hours, nothing. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. And Lauren, I'll start with you. Even though this is the largest event of its kind, if you had to describe the North American Sand Soccer Championships to someone new, how would you describe it?
I would say it is the largest soccer reunion weekend, right? So from a logistics standpoint, like you said, it's 25 to 30 blocks long. You'll see 1,500 matches, 66 fields, 2 stadiums, and all that. But what you feel at the event is the vibe. It's the soccer culture. It's the reunion weekends. It's families sitting on their hotel balconies or sitting on the hotel greenways, watching the games. You see a lot of hugs and high fives. It's the one weekend a year where it doesn't matter what club you play for, what colors you wear, 11 and a half months out of the year for one weekend. You're just playing with your buddies, and it's just a fun weekend for soccer families.
Matt, you're the director of ops. Lauren just kind of alluded to kind of the size and scope that you need to set up these stadiums. What goes into pulling off an event like this over 25 city blocks on not concrete, not pavement, but on beachfront sand?
A giant volunteer base is what does a bulk of it. Year-round planning. Lauren and I are already planning for the 2025 event. So we already are tracking, how can we be better and smarter? But it takes 30 years of learning what you do well and what you don't do well to make yourself as efficient as possible when you get down there in execution, right? So we're pretty well greased up and ready to go as far as all of our processes and tools and loading and volunteers and teams down there. We can't plan on the weather. We can't do anything about that, but we pull it off every year. We seem to get faster and better with setup and breakdown every year, but can't do anything without that Virginia Beach soccer community and our volunteer base for certain.
This question can go to either one of you, but you mentioned 30 years, you kind of have a good system in place, but at one point it was year one. How did this event get off the ground? How did it get going? What was its genesis?
I would say the genesis of it was we live in an area where soccer is honestly king as far as all the youth sports, right? So you toss in a just very vibrant soccer community. You sprinkle an awesome Virginia Beach oceanfront that's huge, and you can fit a bunch of fields down there, and you got a great supportive city behind it. And honestly, it's a blueprint for success, right? So without those things, there's a lot of cities that would love to do beach soccer. They just can't because of what their beach looks like or the lack of a beach, and so we're really, really blessed with the Virginia Beach oceanfront and what it provides for us.
I want to piggyback and add. So Matt said how it got started, and I want to tell you the why it got started, right? And so part of this is we operate the Hampton Road Soccer Complex, which is 26 soccer fields. And back in 1994, when our board came together and we had a big group of smart people in the room, and they said, hey, we want land, we want to develop this 26 field soccer complex. oh, by the way, how are we going to pay for it? And so Matt's dad, Dick Whalen, was the founder and creator of it and thought, hey, let's start a sand soccer tournament as a fundraiser. And I don't think anybody had well, I would say Dick had that vision that he wanted it to be as big as it was. But I don't know if anybody else really thought that it was going to turn into the mammoth, the global phenomenon that it is. But we're so grateful for Dick and his vision to get it started.
Well, Matt, so since your dad was heavily involved, what was that first one like? How many people were here, and how did it get off the ground? Like, just give us a sense 30 years ago of what the Oceanfront looked like for the soccer
Tw-
championships.
24 teams on a blustery spring day. It was actually a nor'easter, right? So people, instead
We
of
get
wearing
those
like
games.
bathing suits and swimsuits and all that fun stuff, we were down in like 55-degree windy Virginia Beach weather in April. Heck, my mom even played, who's never played soccer before in her life, but to fill out one of the teams, my mom actually got out there on the sand and played. But it was 24 teams. It was a couple blocks worth. We've even gotten so smart now that we've turned our field 90 degrees. So you're not shooting at the boardwalk or at the water. That way balls aren't landing in somebody's, plate of food when they're eating at Mai Ma's or something like that. They're actually, and now we actually shoot it north and south versus east and west.
It's that trial and error that goes into making it a
It
perfect
is.
event.
See, we got smart. We got smart with it.
Well, that's amazing to hear, and you love seeing how something has become like you said, Lauren, this kind of global behemoth over the years, and now you're at a point where you're approaching your 30th year. When you get to this, I know you haven't been to all of them, Lauren, but when you get to a milestone like this, what does it mean to you as the executive director of the organization, and seeing not just the Hampton Roads community, not just Virginia, but really the entire world kind of rally around this event?
So the word that comes to mind is proud, right? I'm just so proud of the group of people that came before me and also walk alongside me. We have a core committee. We call them like our tent coordinators and kind of our core event staff. There's about 50 of us throughout the year. There's about 8 to 10 of us that work on the event, and then we funnel up to about 50. We just had a meeting and we went around the room and asked people, how long have you been part of this event? And I would say the average length of time that our core folks have been part of the event is like 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so proud of that, right? I'm proud of our people. I'm proud of their passion. I'm proud that they stick around. It means we're doing something right, and the event is put on by people who truly love it and believe in it. Now, beyond the people, right, it's the tourism component. We just won an award last year. We were recognized as a champion in economic impact for sports tourism. We were on a magazine cover. It was posted everywhere. So not only is our event great for the local community, it generates a lot of tourism in heads and beds. Our event generates about $14 to $15 million in economic impact, about 8,000 hotel room nights. So it's an event that truly sells out the oceanfront end to end, right? So sorry if you're in town for a wedding or a graduation or any other thing, please don't stay at the oceanfront, or you're gonna just, lace up. Well, not lace up, but like get some sand socks and jump on the field with us and play in a game or two. But that's what it's like. We own the oceanfront hotel scene, about 30 blocks of it for 3 days.
Well, talk about the competition. So with 10,000 plus competitors, not all of them are competing for the premier prize, which is the US Open Cup. And we'll get into that in just a second. But talk about what competitions are going on, who can play, who is playing, where are they coming from? Just kind of give us an overall sense of what we can experience down at the Oceanfront next weekend.
So outside of the US Open, really it's the beautiful thing about the sand soccer tournament is you just have to find 9 friends and form a team and you can come down and play. So we have 4 skill level divisions, right? We have like the ultimate rec division. There's a little bit competitive, and then there's kind of like the elite division. I, as a soccer mom, if I was able to play in the event, I'd be in the super low rec division, just out there having fun. But it's truly for anybody, right? So our divisions, we have under 8 to over 50. So it's anybody, all ages. We represent about 15 to 20 states come out and participate. Matt will get into our US Open, but on the amateur side, like I said, teams are coming pretty much from the East Coast on the amateur side. A lot of folks make it a 3 or 4 day weekend event. And like I said earlier, they just grab their buddies. They just get their friends and form a team. Doesn't matter how good you are, how terrible you are. Anybody can be a sand soccer player for a few days.
Well, Matt, on that note, let's kind of transition over to the U.S. Open because that is a professional competition. There are prizes. These players are competing to win.
Mhm.
What sort of competition are we looking at? Where are these players coming from? And you set up the stadium. So what's the stadium atmosphere like for the U.S. Open Cup? U.S. Open.
The stadium is right smack dab in the middle of our event. So it's kind of the heart of our event. All the energy is down there right in front of it down at 28th Street. It seats about 3,000 folks. So there's music pumping. We have a DJ down there the entire time. We have games stretching from 8 a.m. all the way up till about 11 p.m. at night under the lights. So lots of activity, and throw in a beer tent about 10 feet away from the edge of the field. And it's kind of a match made in heaven if you are a beach soccer enthusiast. As far as the teams that are there, we have some of the best players in the world come into play at our event, and they earmark our event every year to be here, which is great. So we have teams coming from South America, Central America, Canada, Europe, and so from all over. And so a lot of crowd favorites that come here year after year, which tells us that we're doing something right with it. It could be that. It also could be the prize money that we offer as well. So that never hurts with it whatsoever. But it's something that I think we draw from, our soccer proper goes from about 15th Street all the way to 34th Street. And so we suck in a lot of folks into.
I think Matt's froze, so I'll kind of piggyback on it. The other thing I want to add about the US Open is these are some of the best players in our country. So the men's and women's national team players come down. They can't officially compete as Team USA in our event, but they come in and they compete individually. And it's really cool because there's several folks from our area that have gone up to play on the national team. Chris Albiston is currently on the men's US national team. And so it's really cool to have some local talent. We've had Ashley Triplett. There's been numerous men and women that have made it all the way up. And it's really cool because we do a kids clinic on Friday night. And so the kids get to come down and learn and train from the pros. They get to experience skills and drills. They get autographs. They get to really be up close and personal with their heroes ultimately.
Well, we're waiting for Matt to get back right now, which this happens with technology. It's completely fine. We can keep rolling, but I'll transition to you, and then I'll get back to Matt when he joins us again. But you have mentioned, I read in an article that you did recently that you, Lauren, kind of termed this event more so a festival as opposed to a sporting event. Why is that?
So to me, when I think of a soccer tournament, I think of a few fields and maybe a vendor or two. Our event I deem as a festival because we have 66 soccer fields, we have 2 stadiums. We'll have nearly 70 vendors and sponsors on the boardwalk, right? So groups like Atlantic Union Bank, Event Connect, Chicho, Centera, Tropical Smoothie, Dick's House of Sport, right? We will have interactive displays and activations along our boardwalk. We'll have 18 food vendors, taste your way through Virginia Beach on our boardwalk. We have DJs, music. We have music in the park. We partner with beach events to have nightly entertainment in 17th Street and 24th Street parks. We partnered with them to bring in street soccer as kind of a Atlantic Ave entertainment option. So the way we break the event up is Matt takes care of everything that's kind of soccer, right? It's on the sand. Matt oversees, he's our director of ops. He thinks of everything that's soccer. I tend to focus on the experience, right? Matt's a way better soccer player than me. He knows the rules way better than I do. Matt's in charge of soccer, and maybe I'm in charge of like fun and festival, right? I'm the one that kind of turns our
CEO
event.
of fun, director of soccer, right?
That's right. I just deemed myself like the queen of fun, I guess. But that's really how we divide it, right? For an event of this size, you're going to have to divide and conquer. But that's why I think it's a festival, because it's the music, it's the entertainment. You don't have to be a soccer fan or a soccer player to come down to our event and enjoy it. There's art vendors, jewelry vendors, there's interactive things, there's music. It doesn't matter what you're into. We probably have it on display or for sale at our event.
Matt, Lauren did and welcome back, Lauren did a great job kind of finishing up what you were talking about with the U.S. Open Cup. But I wanted to go back to you to just kind of talk about sand soccer globally. Like this is
Mhm.
obviously a very large event, but that means that there's a constituency out there that wants this event to be this large. Give us a sense of what the sport of sand soccer is globally and why it works at an event of this scale and magnitude.
Well, they have their own World Cup, right? There's national teams that exist across the globe. There's robust leagues all the way through Europe and South America and Central America. And those are the players we draw from. We've actually had the governing body of beach soccer from FIFA come to our event and, stand on the boardwalk and look to the north and look to the south and see nothing but people playing beach soccer. And he said there is nowhere on the planet where something like this exists. Right. So, you're doing something right when that guy says that. Right. And so we see it as it's that, 2 weekends after Memorial Day, it's that thing that happens in Virginia Beach before summer kicks off formally. Right. But to the rest of the world, it's kind of the granddaddy of them all. Right. And we love that. We have a lot of pride in that. And it forces us to be better every single year. Right.
Follow up for you on that too is so you've been around it since the inception. At what point did you recognize that this has gone from just an event on the calendar to this is a big deal?
Yeah, I think in 1999, when we added our US Open component to it, we saw that we could take, the regular kind of sport of, we call it sand soccer. The sport's actually called beach soccer. We saw that we could take that sand soccer and turn it into something, quite a bit more robust, right? And turn our tournament into something with something that no other soccer tournament in the United States has, right? With that professional division right alongside a U8 girls team or an over 50 men's team, which by the way, I'm not over 50. I'm not playing on an over 50 men's team. I'm playing on an over 40 men's team,
40s.
just in case anybody was asking about the gray hair and everything. So yeah, there's nothing really that exists like it on the planet. We actually have other tournaments that come to us that shadow us to say, hey, how do you guys do it? How do you run this thing? Right. And we had a set of leaders that when this event was kicking off back in the early 90s, we ran this like a traditional outdoor soccer tournament. Right. And so we've used that methodology to turn it into something else. And now we have a really well-oiled machine. You kind of have to, over the course of 2 miles worth of beach at Virginia Beach Oceanfront, you got to kind of be on your game in order to run all of those things extremely effective. Hey, we're even so good that when a giant storm comes through and wrecks all of your tents and fields and shuts down your event for 2 hours, we can pick right back up where we left off and continue on, no problem. And we are extremely proud of being able to do something like that. I don't see a lot of other events doing things like that.
Again, 30 years of experience will kind of help you be able to learn those tricks of the trade, I guess. Lauren,
Absolutely.
Matt just alluded to something that I think is really unique, and I want to hear your perspective on it. It's you have the professionals playing on this field, but then you could potentially have the U8s playing on the field
Mhm.
right next to them. Talk about how important that sort of engagement is in this community, because you don't see that with a lot of professional sports. You wouldn't see a U8 game taking place at the FIFA World Cup, when
Mhm.
it's here in the States and in Mexico and Canada in a few years. So how important is that sense of engagement for the sand soccer community?
I think that's some of the magic that makes our event really special, right? You can be a little kid, you can be new to the sport, and you're not even sure if when you kick the ball, where it's going to go. You may not even know which direction you're supposed to be running in, right? You're like 6 or 7 years old, you're super little. And you can turn around and see our stadium and see these opportunities. You can see men and women from the US men's and women's national teams competing. And it gives you something to inspire to, but it also is such a super approachable sport, right? Everything at our event is free and open to the public. So that U8 kid can come off their field, walk 50 feet, and go sit in the stadium for free and watch their idols play. And again, we have a kids clinic. And so that's really the opportunity for the pros to interact directly with the players. You see all the times pro players taking their jerseys off, giving jerseys out, signing shirts. I mean, we have security, of course, but it's a super open, welcoming, safe environment for these kids and families to be really up close to their idols. And like I said, when you look at our event, we cut the event in half. So we have our stadium in the center, and kind of to the north is our co-ed and adult teams. And then to the south of the stadium, going all the way down to the pier, we start at U8. And so every block or two, it gets a little bit older. It gets a little bit older. So, the soccer parents maybe love and hate us because they have to move up and down the boardwalk all day. But you can kind of see the skill progress, right?
Yeah.
You start with the U8s, and by the time you get to 13, 14-year-olds, you really start to see some talent on the pitch down there. So I just think it leads to a little bit of the magic, is to have the little kids be able to see their idols 50 feet away.
Mhm.
Well, sports
And
is
those
also-
idols
Go
will,
ahead, Matt. Sorry.
and those idols will are actually, there's a lot of local soccer
Mhm.
coaches, a lot of local, that U8 girl now may be, a 25-year-old woman playing with one of our local pro teams, right? And so, and she's a coach, and now her little team is coming out to watch her. So there's this really cool circle of soccer life down there. I started as a high school kid, now I'm playing in this old man division, but at a time I did play in that pro division. It was really cool to have like my little U14 down there, supporting coach in the stadium. You don't get that a lot of places, right? It's really neat to see.
Well, no, and sports, speaking from a Hall of Fame perspective or speaking from an event standpoint, it's all about creating the memories and creating the engagement that creates those memories. And it's great to hear what's in place down there at the Sand Soccer Championships to be able to do that. And, Lauren, I'll come back to you. We just got a few minutes left, but this is a big year. I mentioned it in the intro and we've talked about it a few times, but this is the 30th anniversary. Is there anything that's going to be slightly different this year that you're adding in to really kind of hammer home that milestone?
So, of course, in kind of all the designs of everything we're building, we are doing our 30th anniversary logo. So if you come down, this is, oh no, you can't see it. That's our official game ball, right? So it's our traditional seahorses with our 30th logo, right? You'll see it on our medals. Everything kind of has a 30th down there. But the thing that's new and exciting this year, for the very first time, we actually have our official Sand Soccer beer. We partnered with Pretty Ugly Distribution and Big Ugly Brewing to create our very first beer. It's called the Sandy Sidekick. So if you're watching this, you can see it. And this will be released Thursday. So you're going to hear this information the day we release it. And this year, the front of our beer can is a local woman named Erin Footland. And so she is the inaugural Sandy Sidekick NIL deal featured bicycle kit queen, Erin Footland. And we're really excited about that. Erin is a local star, local deep roots in our community, president of the Women's Soccer Association here, the Southeastern Virginia Women's Soccer Association. She plays in the US Open. Her team won the US Open a year or two ago. And she kind of embodies the spirit of all the things that feel good about sand soccer, right? She's a mom of 3, and then she's out there feisty as can be in the US Open, doing bicycle kicks and scoring goals, right? So really excited about our partnership with Big Ugly Brewing this year and our 30th anniversary beer.
Well, and what's really interesting about that too, in hearing you say that, is it really goes to show the sense of community. While this is a Virginia Beach event, it's hosted in Virginia Beach. For those who don't know, Big Ugly is based in Chesapeake, so the soccer community is growing. It's very tight knit here, and obviously welcoming everybody from around the globe makes it even greater. Matt, I'll get you out of here on this, just because you've been there since the beginning. I want to hear from you. What's the most memorable moment that you have from the North American Sand Soccer Championships?
As a player, playing in the finals of the US Open is always up there. My team's won 4 of those championships, which is really cool. Honestly, it could be coaching my own kids in the tournament is always up there. I think the best thing is just every year, just being able to step back and take a breather on like Saturday night and just looking at the depth and breadth of kind of what we set up. That's always the best moment of the weekend.
Lauren, I actually lied. I'll let you finish it. You can either finish it with your favorite moment or just anything else that we need to know about the events. Something that just excites you that maybe you haven't lent a voice to during this interview yet.
Yeah, so for me, I'll kind of go past and present. Of course, when I joined, I was the new kid on the block, and I hear about the engagements and the marriage proposal and the weddings that happen during sand soccer, right? All the things that come before me. My first year of sand soccer, I got to work with Dick for a year alongside, and so I got to hear all of his stories. He beat like the messaging into my brain for a year, and I learned a lot from him. And so I really value his guidance and his mentorship. But for me, the thing I look most forward to every year, and again, you hear me say it, but it's our people, right? It's the people that make it come together. It's a reunion for our staff, it's a reunion for our committee, and it's a reunion for all the soccer players that compete every year. At one point, we did a post-event survey, and it was something like 90% of people who played that year had previously played in our tournament at some point. And so it tells us we're doing something right, that people choose to spend their vacation dollars to come back to Virginia Beach and play in our event. So that's what I look forward to. I stand on my balcony at the Ramada, it's our headquarter hotel, and I look to the left and right, as Matt said, and you just exhale for a minute, right? And you're like, the radio's not going, everything's turned off, and you just have that moment, and you're like, holy smokes, we did it. We did it again, right? We pulled it off. This little group of people working around the clock made this magic happen. We're responsible for all these kids and families making some of the best memories of their lives. In closing, I'll say if anybody wants to come check it out, you can find us online at sandsoccer.com. Again, the event is June 7th to the 9th. Everything is free and open to the public. Again, our beers in our beer tent. We'll also have that in several restaurants along Atlantic Ave. So whether you're a soccer fan or not, we welcome you to come down and check it out and enjoy what we bring to the oceanfront every year.
Absolutely. And that magic, as you said, will be taking place next weekend, June 7th to the 9th at the oceanfront. 10,000 plus competitors, but over 100,000 people just attending something regarding the sand soccer tournament. We'll call it the championships, we'll call it the festival, but the North American Sand Soccer Championships. And with days to go, I know you all are both very busy, so I do want to thank you so much for taking some time to join us today on Hall Call.
Thanks, Will, and keep up the awesome work.
Absolutely, will do. Well,
Thanks for having us, Will.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Lauren. And I'd like to thank everyone who's going to tune into this video or listen to us in podcast form. As always, thank you to our sponsors over our shoulders. Be sure to stay up to date on all things Virginia Sports Hall of Fame and the Hall Call interview series and podcast by following our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can also listen to the Hall Call podcast on Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Once again, I'm Will Driscoll, the Executive Director here at the Hall of Fame. Whatever you do, participate, don't spectate, and we'll see you next time.